Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life, your business, your health, fitness, body and mindset from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And today we're going to talk about weaknesses and turning them into your strengths. A lot of the time when we identify that we have a particular weakness, we want to outsource that to someone else. But there are certain things that we shouldn't be outsourcing, and certainly not our weaknesses, because if it's a weakness of ours, how do you really know if it's a strength of someone else's? Because you haven't really identified what does it take to be strong in that area. And if you think what I'm talking about here is conceptually not right, I want you to think about this. If you only ever focus on your strengths, are you really going to be the complete person that you want to be? I don't just mean complete in terms of you standing back and looking at yourself and saying, yeah, look, I'm a complete person. I mean in terms of complete with what it is that you're striving to achieve as a human being, as a partner, lover, father, mother, friend, coach, a business colleague, whatever it is that you want to achieve. Are you really going to achieve the most if you're only just focusing on your strengths? And I would say no, you're not. And if you want an example of that, think about a tennis player. So the Australian Open is about to commence here in Australia next week, all being well with coronavirus and so forth, and anything could happen between now and then. But let's just take a tennis player. Let's use Djokovic. Not a huge fan of Djokovic, but let's just use him. If he only ever focused on his strength, and let's just say that his strongest point was his serve, and that was all he ever focused on, is he going to continue to win Grand Slams? And the answer to that would be no, because if that's your only weapon, if you're only going to work on your serve, there's only so many times in the game where you're serving. So if you aren't good at a forehand, you aren't good at a backhand, if you're not good at the overhead smash, if you're not quick on your feet, if you're not aerobically fit, if you're not all of those things, then you're not going to ever be a complete tennis player. And if you need another example of that in the game of tennis, I can't remember his name, but there's an Australian guy. He holds the world record for the fastest serve. Now, did he ever win games? Yeah, he did. But I don't know what his ranking was, but I don't think he even plays tennis anymore. He didn't get to that stage where he was winning Grand Slams or winning the huge titles. So he wasn't a completely rounded tennis player. Yeah, he had a big weapon, had a really fast serve, but the rest of his game was not as good as his fast serve. And just because it's fast doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. Yeah, it's the fastest, but is it the best? It just makes it harder to hit back. So when it comes to other areas of your life, whether it's your business and you just focus on your strengths, or whether it is your health and fitness, and let's just say that you're really good at cardio, so all you do is cardio. Well, I guarantee you this, you're not going to get the toned muscular body that you want if that's what you want. If you want to just become aerobically fit, then that's what you're going to get. But if you want the strong toned body just by doing more cardio, it's not going to happen. And if food is a weakness for you, you're an emotional eater, you can't control what it is that you're eating, you're making poor choices all the time, and so that's a weakness for you, then I guarantee you this, you are not going to achieve the body and health that you want unless you conquer that weakness. Let's just say, in my case, my lower back has some strength issues, which means that I can't overload my shoulders. So I used to love doing squats, barbell squats, which is a bar across your shoulders, the back of your shoulders, and you squat down as deep as you can, lift back up. Now I got to the stage where I could lift 155 kilos doing that, but my knees started to give me trouble. And then years later, injured my back lifting my daughter. And so that means now I can't do any squats at all. And I can't really do heavy deadlifts either, which helps strengthen my back. So weaknesses. So what did I have to do? I needed to find exercises, and I only discovered this over years, find exercises that I could do safely, that I could load safely to still build muscle mass and do the things that I want to achieve, because lifting heavy weights is something that I enjoy. I had to find a way to overcome that. Now today I want to talk to you about 3 weaknesses in a business context, because we could talk about the health and fitness side of thing all day as well. But today I want to talk about 3 weaknesses that I consider I have, and tell you why I consider they're weaknesses, tell you why they are weaknesses, and what I'm going to do about them. So the first one that I would say is a weakness is my social media. The second one is my video, like not making enough videos and putting enough video content out there. And the third one is about building really effective and strong business relationships. Now, people might look at me and they look at my social media accounts, and I have people that say, wow, you post so much stuff. But here's the thing. When you're not good at something, you tend to not do it a lot and you tend to avoid it. And now I tell you this, if I did not run my own business, I would not be on social media at all. I'm only on the social media to connect with a few friends, but the rest of it's all business stuff. I've got like 4 social media pages. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram as well. Probably something else I can't really think of right now. Obviously a YouTube channel and everything, but I'll talk about that in a moment. And it's not something that I enjoy. I just don't enjoy posting stuff on social media, and a couple of reasons for that. Most of my personal coaching clients, pardon me, don't even have a Facebook account, or if they do, they use it very little. They've got their own businesses, they're really tied up in that. They don't see the need to have a social media page. They get enough business. They've got some good relationships with different organizations and people and stuff, so that all their work comes through that. So they find that they don't use it for their work. They might use it a bit socially or just not really at all. So they don't tend to use it. So most of my income comes from those clients. So I look at it, okay, I could be spending a lot of energy in there, but actually my ideal client is not coming from there. But I look at the other side that I do as well, where I'm working with women. So this is my group classes and that kind of stuff. So it's people that have maybe less disposable income to spend on training and taking care of themselves and so forth. So I find that most of them tend to be, I'm going to say 20, maybe early 20s, 22, maybe if I'm thinking about my youngest clients right now, up to 55, but most of them are falling probably before 45. So let's go 22 to 45. That's where most of them are, and they all have Facebook, and they're pretty much all over it. So what I have to do is make sure that I am still posting really good content, and I'm posting frequently so that I can still connect with that part of my audience, even though it's a much smaller part than the other side. And so I think it frustrates me sometimes, or in the past it has anyway, that I have to spend so much time working on something that where most of my income comes from is not influenced by that. But that's the history of it. Now, what I need to do is make this a strength, because in this pandemic that we're still living in, with the ever-changing world, global economy and everything that we live in, I need to keep posting and posting better content, posting more frequently and getting more creative and making sure that I'm bringing on a different, I keep bringing on the clients that I'm taking on, but also trying to appeal to different audiences as well and doing it in a bigger way. What also frustrates me is the fact that Facebook have so much control over, they can just change the algorithms, and that impacts who is going to see your material. The Facebook is very, very tough on people in the health industry, so we can't post before and after photos. You can't talk about weight loss. You can only talk about very, very generic type of health improvements. The types of images that you can use are very, very limited. There's a certain ratio of skin that you can have in your images and all that kind of stuff. I've had so many ads rejected that it's crazy. And some of them were previously accepted, and I would just, run the same one, maybe do it a little bit differently a month or so later, and it gets rejected. And you object, you make some changes. A lot of the time they can be just being kicked out by a bot, and once you're kicked out once, anything, even though they say you can apply again, anything that you submit from that point on is just refused. And ultimately they say to you, well, it's our rules, so we can do what we like and we don't need to provide you with an explanation. And so it's been probably over 12 months since I've advertised on Facebook, because every time I put in the effort to put something up, they reject it. And these are so generic ads in the end that it's almost like there's no point in putting them up. So I'm yet to crack that one. That one is really tough. I've done some effective ones in the past, but they're now not acceptable to them. So it's tricky for sure. But what I need to do this year is make sure that I make this more of a strength of mine. So that means creating better content, creating for social media, creating more of it, posting more regularly, getting my team to look after it. So as of last week, I've created a new social media program that it goes out every single day, and we'll see what impact that has. It's getting some traction at the moment, and my goal is to just keep adding things into that, doing it differently, being creative, and let's just see where that goes. The other one about the video. So in the past, I have, or certainly back when I first started the business, posting videos was a nightmare. Like, I had to record it on a video camera with a tape. I then had to plug that video recorder into my computer. I had to download it onto the software. You needed special software for it that you had to buy, which was a couple $100 to buy it. You then had to wait for how long it took to download, which was a long time. Then you had to jump into the editing software and play around with it, etc., etc. Nowadays, obviously, it's so much easier. All the filming is done on the phone. You edit it. Well, I edit mine, certainly through iMovie. It works really well. And I've just recently got a laptop. I shouldn't say a laptop. It's a Mac. So that it's got iMovie on it. I can just airdrop everything to there, quickly do it on the computer, add music and do all that sort of stuff easy, and then just upload it, wherever it is that I want to upload it to. In the past, that's been really, it's clumsy on the phone a little bit to do it. It takes a lot of time to download things and share things, but airdropping it makes it really simple. So my goal is to do way more of that this year, make it way more effective, really boosting my YouTube channel, putting all these episodes onto YouTube as well, so it's across a couple of forums, and I'm excited about that because I think there's a lot of potential there. People are sick of looking at still images now. They want to see moving images, and I just need to become more creative with it and have a lot of fun with it in the process. So I'm looking forward to that, but at the moment I would say it's a weakness. I haven't been doing it regularly, and that's why the YouTube channel hasn't grown. And the last one is about effective business relationships. So here I have a number of really effective business relationships, but I don't form enough of them frequently enough. And I think one of my problems is that I get into the comfort zone. Like, I'm doing really well. I'm hitting all my goals. I am content with what I'm doing. And with that becomes some complacency. And I think that's what I slip into from time to time. And what happens when complacency sinks in, where you miss opportunities? All it takes is, a few things to happen, and that could have a drastic impact on your business. So you've got to keep building these different business relationships. And so that's what my intention is. So the most effective last business relationship I made was through Olympian Kerry Pothast, and that was to join the Isogenics nutrition company, global company. Sure, it's like about $8 billion worldwide company. It's growing every year. Great culture, great ethics. Really love it. Love the products. Put them into my body every single day. It's just, sometimes you just know you're in the right place at the right time. And that's relationship's been going for about 18 months now and is really reaping rewards. So it's really, really good. So I need to do more things in this space so that I can form bigger, better, and more business relationships. So they're the 3 weaknesses that I'm tackling this year so that I can turn them into strengths. Now, I've got a bunch of strengths. It doesn't mean I don't work on the strengths, but it means if I'm going to become a better person, I need to work on my weaknesses as well. So they're my 3. I want you to identify what weaknesses you have. What do you need to work on? And then not just say in the moment, oh yeah, these are my 3 weaknesses. Come up with a plan. Come up with a plan to take you from a weakness to a strength, and you'll be surprised at the impact that has on your life and the outputs and everything that happens around you. Of course, it's very easy to see how you could outsource a couple of those things that I said. I could outsource the video, I could outsource the social media. But that doesn't help me. It might help the business, but it doesn't help me personally grow as a person and be the person that I want to be. And where I've fallen into the trap in the past, because I have tried these sorts of things before. And here's what normally happens. Weakness, not something I want to do, not something I like to do. I'm going to give that to someone else to do. Problem occurs at some point down the track, and you find out that things are not happening the way that they should be happening. Perfect example. When I first started opening my business, I thought, look, I'm a smart guy. I don't need to be involved with any of the training, these group sessions. I didn't want to do them. And I thought I'll put the people in place around me to make sure that everything that I want done gets done. I thought I put a good system in place. And what I found was after we were, back in the days, we were redoing our marketing every 4 weeks. So we'd get all these people sign up and the classes would be run. I'd attend for like the first session, the last session, sometimes in between the month. But as we progressed, it was the first and the end. And what I was finding was we weren't getting a lot of retention. And I thought, okay, well, this is the first time I've ever done this before. Maybe people only want to do it for a month and then, they move on. I was getting some retention, but I wasn't getting a lot. And then this happened over and over. And I was getting really annoyed with the fact that I wasn't getting the outcomes that I was wanting. I wasn't getting the retention. And I couldn't understand why. The programs were good. I thought I put in some good coaches. And we were having team meetings and working out what was going on. And the feedback I was getting was not consistent with the outcomes that I was getting. So the feedback from the staff was different from the outcomes that I was getting actually in the sessions. So then I had a situation where one of the staff members, I had 3 on at the time, and they were running the sessions, and 1 left. And it put me in a really difficult situation. It was a case of one morning, I get a message at 5 a.m. that they can't attend for a 6 a.m. session. And that meant that I had to, get up and get organised extra early. I had to get more equipment because they had all the equipment. So I had to draw on some spares and travel to this park and et cetera, et cetera. And then and I didn't replace that person immediately. And what I discovered over the subsequent days and weeks was that the way that I wanted things done wasn't being done. and the way that the training that I wanted to get done, it wasn't happening the way that I wanted it to. They weren't, the discussions that the staff, I wanted them to have, it just wasn't happening. So of course they weren't building relationships. So that was the first point that I realized, you tried to outsource this, but in the subsequent weeks that happened and the trouble and the distress that it caused me, I realized that there's a lot of things that weren't happening. Now, I wouldn't have ever known that unless we had this problem. On reflection, I look at it and say, well, I actually tried to get out of that. And because it wasn't a strength, because it wasn't really something I wanted to do, now because I was forced to get back in there, it made me realize, wow, these are things that we need to do better. These are the new things that we need to do. And in that process, when I started to then push with the staff, I ended up having the other two staff members, eventually they both left, because they didn't like the way, I suppose, that I was managing and a higher expectation of them. And so we just didn't see eye to eye. So I ended up replacing them over time. But because of that, and because I tried to outsource my weakness, I was forced back into it. Now we have incredible retention. I mean, it's hard now for me to look back and think, man, all the work that we put in with the marketing and the cost with the marketing, and I was only getting people hanging around for a month. Now, I can't tell you the last time that I only had a person hang around for a month. I've got clients that have been with me for probably 5-6 years in the group scenario that I'm talking about here. I've had personal training clients that have been longer than that. But when I look back and think, wow, I was only retaining them for a month and now they're just staying for so long now, it's like, man, it's just poles apart what we were doing. I never would have learned that if we didn't have the problem and I kept avoiding my weakness. So yes, I tried to outsource it. Same with social media. You can try and outsource this stuff, but chances are the person is not going to do a brilliant job on it because you're not going to have the strengths to know what it should be like. And so therefore you just allow them to do whatever, and it's not bringing in you the outcomes that you really want. You're better off to make it a strength of yours, get right in there, understand what you need to be doing, and then you can get somebody to support you doing it. But I find if you just try and avoid the weakness, outsource it, you're not going to get the response. And the scenario I use with the tennis, they can't outsource their backhand. They can't outsource a good serve. They can't do any of that. They have to make it their strengths if they want to be a well-rounded, world-class player. You need to have the same mindset when it comes to what it is that you want to become great at in your life. So make your weaknesses your strengths and you watch how much things blossom for you. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. I'll see you tomorrow.